Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to MyFi. Another great episode. I had a great conversation with my friend Matthew Mayfield today, and you're going to enjoy it. We talk a lot about, and listen. I mean this in the best way. So I feel like sometimes I'll bring up records, and people go, "Oh no, they're going to talk about Guns N' Roses the whole episode." We only talk about Guns N' Roses a lot, not the whole episode, but we talk about Use Your Illusion a lot because he's got a Use Your Illusion tattoo. That's like his favorite record. Anyway, but Matthew Mayfield, awesome singer, songwriter, great dude, and a great conversation. So let's get into it. Yeah. Welcome. Glad you're here. Awesome. It's a beautiful day where I'm at. And the sun's shining. If you're watching on YouTube, it's probably blinding you in the windows behind me. Sorry about that. But it's a great day, and I'm excited that you're here. Matthew Mayfield on the show, incredible singer, songwriter, guitar player, all the things. Got me thinking about singer, songwriters that I love. Man, I always forget this. Well, I don't always forget it. I hardly ever forget it. But follow us on social media at MyFi Podcast. You can follow me too at Lee T. Baker. Make sure that you subscribe wherever you're listening. Now, singer, songwriters. I wanted to talk about a few of my favorites because Matthew's on the show today. His record, Gun Shy from 2019, his last full length, amazing album. You should go listen to it, check it out. And we talk about that a little bit too. It's available on vinyl, all his records are, so make sure you check out his stuff. But I want to talk about some singer-songwriters that I love. And I know everybody, like, it's easy to talk about five great singer-songwriters because you could say, oh, Bob Dylan and Tom Petty and Jeff Buckley and these people who are obviously like, generational songwriters, and they are. But I want to talk about a few just of my favorite that maybe a little left to center. Maybe you've heard of them. You probably have heard of a few of these, most of these, but maybe you don't think about them as singer-songwriters, or maybe they're just a little bit, a little left of the generational, Paul McCartney, Bob Dylan, songwriters. So anyway. I'm going to get into that. We'll talk about a record of the week, who is from one of these, and then I'll intro Matthew will get into it. So anyway, let's talk singer-songwriters. First on the list is a guy named Angie Aparo. Angie Aparo wrote a song called Cry that was recorded by Faith Hill. Angie sounds nothing like Faith Hill, actually. I was kind of playing some shows and stuff my last summer after college before I got married, was driving around a little bit with a buddy of mine. My friend Gray gave me this CD, Angie Aparo, The American. It was this full-length record. It was produced by a guy named Matt Serletic, I think is how you say his name, but he had done a couple of the Matchbox 20 albums, and I really liked the production on it. So I listened to this Angie Aparo album. I actually got stuck in my CD player, and I was driving around playing some gigs with a friend of mine named Michael, and we just like memorized the whole album because it got stuck in my CD player while we were driving. And I'm so thankful it did because it's awesome, and Angie's awesome, and you should look up his stuff. Angie Aparo. He's got a great covers album. It's kind of a covers album. I think he did some original stuff on it. But The American is like the record you should check out. It's on streaming services and all that. He's fantastic, incredible writer. He's had songs recorded by tons of other people, but his work is really, really great. Second on the list, Natalie Bergman. She released a really like incredible album on Third Man Records last year, and phenomenal singer-songwriter. She was part of a duo. I want to say it was with like her brother or someone, maybe a cousin or somebody she was related to. And that was awesome too. But her solo stuff is just really great. Natalie Bergman. Third on the list, Lauryn Hill, obviously from the Fugees. But I started thinking of Lauryn Hill as a singer-songwriter. She had the big Miseducation of Lauryn Hill record. And it was awesome. Doo-wop, that thing. And like she had some huge hits, obviously. And huge hits with the Fugees as well. But I remember when I was in, I don't know when this was actually. Early 2000s, probably. She released an unplugged album. It's called Lauryn Hill Unplugged 2.0. It was an MTV Unplugged thing. And it's just her with like a nylon string acoustic. And she's like, it's very raw. Like she'll start songs and go, I don't want to play that in that key. And she'll change her capo or whatever, change up keys. And there's a song in there called Freedom Time that's just amazing. She like sings, she raps, but she's just playing. It's just her and a guitar. And it is fantastic. If you've never listened, Lauryn Hill Unplugged 2.0 is the name of the record. Fourth on the list, David Gray. Probably heard of David Gray. If you haven't, you need to get into him. British singer-songwriter. He's got a catalog that's just unbelievable and fantastic. His voice is very unique and very cool, very honest. He's an incredible piano player, guitar player, just a really unique voice. He was one of the first singer-songwriters that I remember where there was a lot of electronic elements in his stuff. His first album, White Ladder, which is actually, I'll let the cat out of the bag, this record of the week this week. If you're watching on YouTube, Spotify video, anywhere, I've got a copy of the reissue they just did on white vinyl, and it's just amazing. My wife and I actually saw him this summer. I talked about it a little bit. I think I may have actually featured this record earlier, but I wanted to again today because we're talking about singer-songwriters. And that record, he recorded in his bedroom, and it's just really raw, but really cool. And so go check out David Gray. Lastly, Ryan Adams. Ryan has always been an influence of mine as a singer-songwriter. I think he's an incredible songwriter. I think he's a generational talent as well. He's been through some rough things over the last few years, but it's good to see him coming back, hopefully better than ever. He just released last week. He re-recorded Oasis, What's the Story, Morning Glory, which is in my top 10 albums of all time. And I've gotten to listen to a few tracks and they're all amazing. Ryan's done this thing where he reimagines records. He did Taylor Swift 1989. He did Bob Dylan Blood on the tracks. He's just done this Oasis record. And he had a record a couple years ago, right after the pandemic. He released 3 albums in a year, and Big Colors, one of their albums from that year, was one of my favorites of the year. And so you should go check that out as well. And so anyway, yeah, singer-songwriters, man, they're great people. We need more in the world. So, and today on the show, I've got a great singer-songwriter, Matthew Mayfield. Matthew has been around a long time. He's released, I think, 6 or 7 full-length records, tons of EPs. He fronted a band in the early 2000s that was signed to Epic and then Columbia subsequently, called Moses Mayfield. Then he went solo after that. One of the songs after Moses Mayfield broke up that he recorded on an acoustic EP right after the breakup of Moses Mayfield and him going solo and all that. One of those songs he recorded ended up being featured on the 100th episode of Grey's Anatomy. And he's had a lot of success in the business, but he is definitely a working man. He is a hardworking dude. And he's got a new record he's working on. We talk about that. His full length I mentioned earlier from 2019, Gun Shy, is out. It's a fantastic record. You should go listen to it. Check out all his socials. He's at Matthew Mayfield on Twitter and Instagram, and at Matthew Mayfield Music on Facebook. There's a link tree in his Instagram, and I'll link that in the show notes as well, where you can go check out all of his stuff and stream things and buy things and all that sort of stuff and support great singer-songwriters like Matthew. But I hope that you enjoy this episode because I had a great conversation with my friend Matthew Mayfield. So let's jump into it. Matthew Mayfield, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good. Happy birthday, dude. Had a birthday this weekend, huh?
Yeah, man. Thank you. I turned 40 on Sunday, which is terrifying.
Big one, dude.
But I'm still grinding away.
You don't look 40, like in the right ways.
Well, thanks. I don't know if you can see it, but I've got Lemmy up here. A friend of mine got me this beautiful painting, and then I've got, you can't see it, but there's Jordan and some other just random art that I love. But yeah, if Lemmy can rock till he's 70, I think I got something in me. Still got
you do.
Days left in me.
Well, your voice has always sounded older than you are, I guess, huh?
I've heard that, yeah, but I think I've kind of grown into it, I guess, because it's always been the same. You know, you get those like phone calls where people think, you know, especially before any of this existed, you know, telephone calls, people would see it and they'd be like, dude, I thought you were some old, like, haggard Tom Waitsy guy.
Yeah, you got the Tom Waits vibe, bro.
I was like, well, you could say worse things. I'll take it. That's just how my voice sounds. I don't know what to do.
Well, it's dope, dude. I enjoyed it. I got to see you live a month or so ago. It was awesome.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming. That show was a blast.
Yeah, it was crazy, dude. The breaking the light bulb incident at the show is going to go down in history as a pretty rock and roll moment for a solo singer-songwriter guy.
Dude, and the most unintentional moment of like, normally if you're trying to upset folks in a listening room environment with an acoustic guitar, you'll probably have to do a little more work to do that. But I swear to God, man, like I swung the guitar to the left and was like, you could see it in the video, like I was sincerely sorry because that place is so beautiful, but they loved it. The owners, everybody loved it. They were having a blast.
Yeah, dude. So it was a moment for sure, bro.
I was like, take it out of my check.
Yeah. Which I'm sure they didn't. They're too nice for that.
Nah, they were sweethearts, man. They were like, we wouldn't take that back if we could.
Yeah, for real. Those moments, they matter. You know what I'm saying? You got to be rock and roll every once in a while.
Oh, dude, all day, got to.
Yeah. You're in Birmingham? Is that where you're from?
Yeah. Born and raised, man. I started out here and started, I picked up a guitar when I was about 8.5, 9 years old, and my dad used to play guitar, so he still does. He doesn't play as much now, but he was really good, and I could always hear him through the thin walls at the house, and music got to me real early on, and I got the bug, and then I got an electric guitar. I started on electric guitar. It's kind of it's always been my first love.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, Birmingham's home, and most of my family's here except my sister and her husband and my nephew, but otherwise most of them are here.
Nice. Do you remember? If your dad played guitar, you grew up around music. What was some of the early stuff you remember listening to that got you pumped?
Oh man, I started out listening to him, and he would play, everything from Neil Young. He'd always play "Old Man." I love that song. And he would play Blackbird, and he'd play Mill Worker, James Taylor, and all this stuff. It's like, to an extent, it's got a lot of sorrow in it. But when you're a little, when you're like 6 years old, you don't know what the words mean. The metaphors don't register. So I would always hear him, but the sound of it, would make me cry. Like I would be in the other room, my bunk bed, with my brother above me, and I would start crying, as a little kid, because it just, the melody that's what, like, how powerful melodies can be. And so I grew up with that, and then I got the bug for rock and roll when I saw the Guns N' Roses video for November Rain.
Nice.
I was 9 years old when it came out, and when Slash gets up on the piano and Axl's got that red coat and the whole bit. It's just that moment when it turns tragic, like all the drama and ridiculous bloated bullshit. Am I allowed to curse on this thing, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay. It was just like so over the top and ridiculous, but that
remember the guy diving through the wedding cake and the rain and just going crazy.
Well, because it's hilarious. They're diving through the wedding cakes like it's a hurricane. It's just rain. It's cold November rain.
Yeah, man.
But as a kid, when he walks up in that moment, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, but like he climbs those stairs and he gets on top of the piano and he's got his cigarette and whatever. That's where I was like, whatever that is, I don't know what it is. I want to do that for the rest of my life. And here I am at 40 and still attempting to do a version of that.
Yeah.
I never had to deal with well, thanks, man. I just never had to do the what do I want to be when I grow up thing.
Yeah, no, I get it, man. I actually really dove into the Gunshy record over the last couple of days and probably listened to it all the way through, maybe 4 times, like all the way through straight, and click back on a few different tracks. And man, it's fantastic. I'm glad to hear you're working on a new record. Is that going well? Yeah, man.
It's kind of an unconventional one, like most of my records have been, done in Nashville or LA, but done in a way that they're sort of cohesive-ish. This one's more like I've just been putting together sort of everything that feels good, everything that feels right. I'm like, let's try it, you know? And if you end up with 30 songs and you got to whittle it down to, you know, these days, that's like your guess is as good as mine. It's like, do we release a single every week? Do we, you know, release a single every month? And then put it together on a collective vinyl and put some unreleased stuff on it for the super fans. You know, it's such a weird industry now. But the new record is definitely going to be the most, hopefully it'll have a little bit of everything for everybody, but it's definitely the most just off the wall shit that I've ever done, you know?
Yeah. That's interesting. You like being an artist. Like I know you've had some huge things happen. The tune that was on that pivotal episode of Grey's Anatomy, and you know early. You know you've had success for years. And when you say you're 40 and you're still trying to figure it out, bro, you have a lot of full length records. I mean, a lot of EPs. Like you've written and released a lot of music across a period of the record industry where things significantly changed, you know, because when was the first Moses Mayfield record, like the band record?
Well, we formed in a version of it when I was probably 20, 19, something like that. And then we got signed when I was 21 to Epic Records, which, you know, most of my heroes at the time were under the Sony umbrella of Epic and Columbia, you know, Springsteen and Pearl Jam and Rage and SDP and all the 90s bands and, you know, all that stuff. So, you know, getting that record deal was sort of my way of telling everybody that ever, like, doubted it, like, hey, I can do this, you know?
Yeah.
Because people ask you that question, like, if you were born, you know, 10 years earlier, would you still consider yourself one of those people that could, like, get through that whole with the, you know, because there's only a handful when back then, you know, it was like if you got signed to a major, that's it, you're a rock star. And my answer is always yes. And it's not a cocky yes, it's a yes, like you just know that you can hang with other musicians when you are one, but you also, when you put as much time into the craft and as much time into, you know, locking yourself in your bedroom on weekend nights and, you know, every minute you can get, you sleep with your guitar in your bed, like, you know, you put the time in, you know, and you know what you're doing. I feel at home on a stage, whether it's 5,000 people or 50 people, you know.
Yeah.
I'm terrified of public speaking, and I am not great at podcasts, but I'm doing the best I can.
You're doing great, bro. You're doing great.
Yeah.
You're doing great. It is just interesting, though. It's kind of rare, I guess, to talk to artists and friends who blew up, I guess, or like, you know, came onto the scene in like the early 2000s are still making music. And the reason I even draw attention to this is because you said nowadays it's really hard to know how to release stuff. You know, you release trickle singles out and then release the whole record. You can't just release a record now because people forget about it in 3 weeks. There has to be like, you know, the whole tease, and do you do vinyl and who wants what? And you always write like, you know, 30, 40 tunes and whittle it down probably for a full length. You know, that's what a lot of people do. But you know, it is hard to know. I think, and I hope, man, do release it how you want to release it. Release it how you think, you know, your fans and people want to release it. I think people will be really excited. I'm excited for it.
Well, thank you, man. Yeah, I plan on it. I don't think there's really a formula anymore, you know, like especially being part of the major thing. And we got dropped, and you know, after we spent 19 months and $600,000 of the label's money. Wow. We didn't have to, don't worry, it wasn't our money. We didn't have to recoup or whatever. They gave the record back. They gave us the masters back. But back then, you know, it was about egos, you know. So all the other majors, we had like a $600,000 record that had only been out for 6 weeks. And, but it was considered old hat, you know, back, because if you were shopping at other labels, like, hey, here's a made record, all the photos, liner notes, everything's ready to run. We just lost all the cheerleaders just because of politics and the business. And Rick Rubin came in to run Columbia because we had moved over from Epic to Columbia, and I had a flip phone at my old apartment, my first apartment that I lived in, and I knew it was coming, because our A&R guys got fired, all our cheerleaders, the radio got fired. I mean, we knew it was happening.
Yeah, that was in that season. They were slimming down, man.
Oh, well, because they were making room for Rick's bands, the American Recordings thing. So they basically just, shoved everybody out of there. And it's the best thing that ever happened to me, to be honest, because if I had gotten shot out of that cannon, I probably would be an egotistical asshole,
Yeah.
Because you really learn the humility of it, through doing it yourself and being a part of every single bit of your career. But at the same time, like when I saw that I think it was 904, I believe, I'm not sure, but I saw the area code and I knew it was New York or Jersey, and I knew it was Rick. I knew he was going to call, and he said, "Hey, Matthew, it's Rick." So I'm like 23 at this point. Like a Rick Rubin on the phone,
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, I know he's calling to break up with you, but
but yeah, he's going to fire you. So you're you don't really know. Obviously, I have a ton of respect for Rick Rubin and many of the records that he's made. But I definitely I was like, I remember saying, "How many times have you made this phone call today?"
Yeah,
and he was like, he said 7. And I was like, "How many more do you have to make?" And I'm 23 years old. And he's like, "About 7 more."
Wow.
Like, "All right, well, cool, man." And he goes, "Well, Columbia Records is no longer the place for you or your band." And I said, "Well, as much as that hurts, thank you." Because that's been my whole life. I mean, I wrote all the songs and, you spend your whole life writing that record, and then
but you own the masters, right?
Yeah. Still on the masters.
Would you re-release? I mean, it's coming up on 20 years from then, almost. Would you do
like
a 20-year
I've done a couple of I put Fall Behind, which is on the Gunshot record.
Yep.
Version 2.0. And I did Keep My Distance as well. That was one from that record. We just kind of wanted to, because I love a lot of the songs on that record. I still believe them. There's a lot of good music. We were young and I sound young, and 2005 was a long time ago when we were making that record. So, but I'm so grateful that it happened, because when we got dropped, everybody quit. It just fell apart. The whole band, everybody people got married and went and got 9-to-5s, and I was like the dumbass that I am. Like, I'm sticking with it, So I went to a basement and down the street from where I'm sitting in Birmingham, and for less than $1,000 recorded me, an acoustic guitar, and a friend of mine, Laurie Chang, playing cello, and we did 8 songs in like 2 days, and Grey's Anatomy found it on MySpace.
MySpace, bro.
Yeah, and they put it on the 100th episode of the show, and they paid me well, and I was like, man, holy shit, I can do this. Maybe this will work. It's not the way I thought it would go, but nothing ever really is. So it was cool.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I think it says something about the kind of songs that you write, that you can write songs 20 years ago, release them on a record that came out in, what was Gunshot, 2019?
2019, yeah.
Yeah. Came out release it on a record. I know it's a different version, but still, like, the songwriting 20 years apart, there's not a lot of songs that stand 20 years unless they're really well written tunes. And so I think that it says something about the songwriting, quality of the songs, all that sort of stuff. And so if there's any of that stuff that hasn't hit the light of day, you should definitely release it.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you. There's quite a few B-sides that have never seen the light of day that I still like. I just got to find them somewhere.
Yeah.
I normally have to call my old manager that managed that band and be like, "Hey, do you have the B-sides, or do you have a copy of that CD?" It's like, "You don't have one?" I'm like, no.
Yeah.
You wrote all the songs and da-da-da. Like, well,
Yeah, you move a few times,
Yeah, I mean, I've done I've wrote a lot. You know, there's a lot. There's 200, 300, 400 songs out there. It's you know, it's what I do, and it's what I love to do. So
yeah, I know you mentioned early on the November Rain video. Do you remember what the first record was you bought with your own money?
I do, and it's the exact same record that I don't know if you can see.
Oh, Use Your Illusion tattoo. I see that.
Yeah, that was the first record that I bought with my own money, man. 9 years old.
Use Your Illusion 1 or 2?
Rain.
Or both?
This was one. I have one. Actually, I think I have the vinyl right here. Well, I have Appetite, and I have a bunch of nerdy gun stuff on here. But yeah, man, that was the first record that I ever bought.
That's awesome.
And thankfully, my sweet mother allowed me to get that record, which is it's not a kid's record, you know.
No, it's not. You know, it's funny. I have a story about that record too. I lived in Monroe, Louisiana at the time, and there was a midnight release, and we're like 4 or 5 years apart or something.
Yeah.
And so I'm a little bit older, and so I bought Appetite in '87. I think I was in like 4th grade, and it was like one of the first pieces of music I bought. And but a friend of my mom's, her name was Gina. She took my older brother and I, and we stood in line at midnight so we could go in Tape World in Monroe, Louisiana, and buy the double cassette.
Yeah.
Of Illusion 1 and 2.
Yeah,
and, I have both on vinyl. I actually have an OG of Use Your Illusion 2, a first press of it with the little. It was before parental advisory, but they had these funny stickers that they put on there.
Yeah.
I can't remember off the cuff what it exactly says, but it's their funny version of like, if you don't like how offensive this is, then you can, you know, whatever.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, fuck off.
Yeah, so I'm looking for a Use Your Illusion 1.
Yeah, dude, I think. Hold on, I'm serious. This will be good for. I know we can cut it up and make it whatever.
Yeah.
Well, you got this idiot.
Oh, a gunshot vinyl, dude. I need to get my hands on
yeah, man. Got a bunch of these. I'll send you one if you want one.
Yeah, heck yeah.
But, I've got all the records are on vinyl, but I've got a bunch in here. But this is here we go. Hit the mother load over here.
Uh-oh.
This is the first one that I ever. Yeah,
nice.
You can see.
Man, that's commitment right there. The Use Your Illusion cover tattoo on the floor.
This one changed my life, you know, in a weird way because it led me back to, you know, I mean, Axl Slash, you know, led me to Aerosmith with Steven and Joe. It led me back to Led Zeppelin, you know, with Robert and Jimmy and, you know.
Stones, Jagger and
Keith and Mick, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's just crazy to see how, you know, people really cared about a record, you know, and
yeah, man.
Full-length album. A friend of mine gave me this, and this is probably one of my most prized possessions. This is an original press of Appetite that's still in the plastic.
Oh, nice. Sealed up.
Yeah, man. And it's got I've never broken it open, but supposedly this is the one that has the original cover on the inside.
Yeah, the band cover and all that.
Yeah, the band version, so...
I think that's coming back.
I also have the photographic history of Guns N' Roses, but look at this.
I love it, man.
Look at this.
Guy.
Dude, look at this. I put my name. I took this to school. Can you see this?
Yeah.
You see
Yeah,
it says Matthew Mayfield, and it's got my home phone number. No area code. 870-774.
Yeah, that was before you needed it because you didn't know anybody outside of your area.
Yeah, man. If somebody stole it, you know, maybe they had good enough heart.
Maybe they could give it back. Yeah.
You know?
I feel like
you see all this shit. You know?
Yeah, I feel like metal fans were like that. They would, if they may steal it, but then they probably would return it.
Yeah, man. I have no problem with being a total nerd when it comes to rock and roll. I mean,
dude, me too, man. Have you seen Guns live?
I've seen the new tour with Slash and Duff and Axl, but I haven't seen. I've seen it 4 times. And my old manager Brian Klein is a great dude. He manages Duff. So
nice.
So yeah, he hooked us up all 4 shows. You know, went backstage. I got to say hello.
Yeah.
It was wild, dude. You know, I met Slash for the first time here in Birmingham. at this club called the 5 Points Music Hall, which used to be a biker bar. And
nice.
once again, my sweet mom, my whole bedroom was covered in posters of him. And, it's like Wolverine or Spider-Man. You don't think they're real.
No, they're superheroes. They're rock stars.
Yeah. And so I went to the show, and I'm sitting like 6th grade, 5th grade, 11 or 12 or something. And we went down there, and she was like, hey, I think I know somebody to get us in the back, and you meet him. Then I was like,
oh my gosh.
I mean, I was a tiny kid. I was like terrified. And I remember walking in, and it was just, the cool thing was he was one of the biggest rock stars in the world, still is. But he was playing a 1600 cap room with Slash's Snake Pit while Guns was on hiatus. And he came around, no shirt, leather jacket, top hat, cigarette, leather pants, came walking off the bus and walked straight towards the table. And I just remember looking at my mom being like, oh my God, like that's him. That's him. And I was terrified. And so we get to the front of the line, and my mom is like so sweet because I can't speak. And I'm just so starstruck. And she's like, Slash, Tara Mayfield, nice to meet you. Southern lady. Nice to meet you. It's my son Matthew. He loves your music. I love your work on. And she was rattling off like deep cuts. Like, I love your the solo and You Could Be Mine. I think that's fantastic. I really love Shotgun Blues. I know Izzy wrote that, and I'm like looking at my mom, like, how do you know all of this? But she had read all the liner notes because she gave me those records,
Yeah, dude.
She was sweet enough to be like, don't listen to tracks 1, 2, 4, 7, 9. And those were the first ones I listened to. Sorry, Mom. I think now that I'm 40, I can confess that. But, it was so magical to meet, a hero like that. So it's when I see him now, I stole his cigarette butt out of the ashtray.
Yeah, you did.
Show, and I put it in this box that my grandmother gave me. It's like this old velvet box, and I've got it right across the room. But I still have it, and he remembers it. I reminded him of it.
So funny, dude.
Yeah, man. I reminded him of it the last time or the first time on the Guns tour that I saw him. I was like, hey, man, I saw you at the 5 Points Music Hall with Snake Pit, and it was the dude from Jellyfish, Eric Dover was from Birmingham, blah, 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 singer, and he was like, you're that kid that took the cigarette out of my ashtray. And I was like, yep, that's me.
That's fantastic, bro.
Oh, no, I was like, yeah, I mean, dude, wouldn't you steal your own? And he's like the sweetest guy in the world. He's so nice. But you can't not be around him and be like, holy shit, this is Slash.
Yeah, it's Slash, dude. I mean, it's like, there's very few. And even nowadays,
he's like part of the One Name Club.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, if you get Keith, Slash, Cher,
Seal.
Yeah, Seal. Yeah, I mean, Madonna. You get one name, dude.
If Sting.
Yeah,
if you're
Sting.
a one-namer, man, you're Lemmy.
Yeah, yep.
I know it's Kilmister, but no one really knew that. But
no. You know what? I'm going to do a whole. I need to do a whole show on one namers, like the top 10.
Oh, dude, I'm in. I would love if you would invite me on as a guest.
Yeah, I'll call you. I should do like 3 or 4 like people who've been on, and do like the best one name. That's a killer idea. You said a little while ago, talking about the Use Your Illusion record, that it was cool. Like, it was an era where people valued music and all that sort of stuff, and the liner notes and the artwork and the that sort of thing. I think there's at least a significant, maybe not the majority, but a significant portion of this generation who is engaging in that again. I think that's why you can press Gun Shy on vinyl and it matters. My kids, we just took a spring break trip to New York City with the family. Went to Rough Trade Records, which is like a famous record shop. It started in London, but they have a Manhattan store as well. I think there's only like 3 Rough Trade stores in the world. And my kids each wanted a record. And my son picked out the new remaster of Dark Side of the Moon. And my daughter picked out the latest Taylor Swift record. She loves rock stuff too. She loves Guns and she loves the Killers, and the whole family's going to see the Struts this summer. And so
Nice.
we love rock and roll, but my kids, they both have turntables in their rooms. And I know like I play music for a living and I collect vinyl. And so they're around it, but a lot of their friends do too. And they talk about it with their friends, and they're 12 and 15. And I don't know. I think there's a resurgence of, people, because music, and you can disagree with this or agree with this or whatever, but I think there's more people are doing what you're doing. More artists are doing this thing on their own. So they so deeply appreciate it because the whole label system's broken.
Yep.
And because there's an appreciation of it, and there's being a musician is more of a blue collar, hardworking thing nowadays than it was in the major label, big budget era of the late 90s and whatever.
Yeah.
I think we've been through 10 or 15, maybe 20 years where music wasn't as valued. I think we're on an upswing. Like as an artist, do you feel that?
Yeah, to an extent. I mean, definitely in terms of the vinyl stuff and just the resurgence of the value that people put on something that's tactile. Whether it's handwritten lyrics or, people come up to you and they got tattoos of your handwriting of your lyrics that you wrote, that kind of stuff is just mind blowing. And it doesn't matter if you're playing for 4 people on a rainy night in DC or 500 people sold out in Chicago or something. You know what I mean? Like you just, it's so gratifying, but it's also, I think it's on a swing, but I don't think anybody knows where it's headed because, the vinyl stuff is incredible, but at the same time, like you gotta find a way to make it more special, I guess, because a lot of people that buy vinyl at the merch table at shows, they don't have a turntable. They don't have they want you. They just want it to be a bigger place for you to write a person
autograph or whatever
thing. Well, yeah, because I like writing them a letter. On a disc, it's like a business card.
Yeah.
And all you can really fit on there is thank you and your name. But on vinyl, you take the time to make it look right, and you see them framed, and people will send you pictures of them framed on their walls, and that's really amazing. I just think that it's a tricky world because you have to engage the diehard fans as much as you can because those are the people that are keeping the lights on. And obviously you can't see, but you can't see the Taj Mahal that I live in.
Yeah.
But it's not the Taj. And I'm a pretty low key person. I don't need much, but it's like, you at the end of the day, it's like when you say make a living, I think a lot of what you were saying, blue collar, I think it is a working class gig because, I've lived in this same little place for 13 years and I've never lived in a house, besides the one that I grew up in. And, you know what I mean? Like just those little things where I've never had a studio. I've never, and I think people make the assumption at times that like, oh, well, you had, 20 million streams of this song and da-da-da-da-da. And they don't know, that the truth is like, let's put it this way, and this is like an educational thing for everybody. And I did this in Houston last time I was there. I just made a bit real quick. I just said, look, thank y'all for coming. You already did your part. And everybody kind of looked at me like, what does he mean? Like, I was like, no. Like you guys did you bought a ticket. Like you paid to come see me play. Your hard-earned money to see me play. Like I'm going to give you everything I got. I'll play for 3 hours and blow my voice up and break strings and, because you guys did your job. So it wasn't a spiel, but it was more like an education for this long. It was just like, hey, thank you, because if I stream 1 million times on Spotify, at 0.0008 cents a stream, I get $2,300 later down the road. If you sell one song for $1 for 99 cents, 1 million of those, $675,000.
Yeah.
slightly different story. Almost $750,000. My math's not great, but I think that's what that.
Nah, it's close enough.
Close enough, something like that. A
picture.
lot of money, but at the end of the day, that's something that you have to evolve and adapt to. And I'm not one of those people that's against all the streaming. You just gotta, you evolve, you adapt, or you die. You don't have any other choice. And I'm not going to quit this and be an astronaut. This is. I'm a lifer, man. This is what I do, and I'm going to do it till I'm not here anymore. So,
I love it. Was that Slash Snake Pit show? Was that the first show you ever went to?
It was honestly, the first show I went to, I was in like first grade, like 6, 7, and it was, you're going to love this.
Yeah.
My mom, once again, love your mom. Very sweet. She took, but she wanted to go. Me and my brother, who's 2 years older than me, we went to see Richard Marx on the Repeat Offender tour.
Yes.
And guess who opened? Wilson Phillips.
Whoa.
That was my first show.
Brian Wilson's daughter.
Yeah, man. Dude, I remember, I was so young, but I remember all of it. I remember the wind tunnels with the guitar player. That's the first time I ever saw a flying V,
wow.
So
dude,
young.
Richard Marx is a Reiner, man.
Dude, he's a monster. He's incredible.
He's a monster songwriter, dude.
He's unbelievable, man.
Repeat Offender's a great album.
For so many other people, and that's part of, I think, the evolution of it, because I've written stuff for other people, that I don't put my name on, but I value it for them. It's like the difference between sort of work and art. It's more like, I don't like mixing commerce and art, but work and commerce seem to be more related.
Yeah, it's a little bit more like a commission piece.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things that you really do value the artist that you're sort of, you can hear their voice singing it in the studio and go, this is yours, man. Like, we're all writers on this and, do the whole bit, but we'll get our mailbox money, but you are the star of this, Yeah. And it's easy to acknowledge, it's just hard when you have the other 2-3 people that are like, it's you, Mayfield, and I'm like, no, it's me. I gotta sing it, and it's like,
no, it's
they're
for
like,
you.
no, this is for you. This is your thing. Like When the Walls Break, a song off of Gunshot. That song was me and Matthew Perryman Jones, and
nice.
A couple of friends of ours in Nashville, and I had a panic attack that day, which is really bad. I had struggled with a lot of anxiety and stuff, and he's such a sweet dude, and he's one of the most. If you guys that are watching, Matthew Perryman Jones, he's incredible. One of the best songwriters, one of the best voices. Just he's one of my best friends too. But he pulled me aside. I was like, hey man, like, you are the voice of the song. I was like, dude, you got a voice like, you sound like Bono on steroids. Like, why do you want me to sing it? And he's like, because it's you, dude. Like, you got to do the thing. And we calm me down, whatever. So when you hear that song, that's literally the sound of the panic going down, and just me. I just belted out and went for it. And it was.
What was the tune again? I'm writing this down, so I'm gonna go listen to it.
When the Walls Break.
When the Walls Break. And
I'll send you. The version on Gunshy is, I think it's the last track on that, or no, second to last track on that record. But I'll send you the trailer mix, which is what we were doing then. It's a slightly different arrangement. Remind me, and I'll send it to you.
Yeah, heck yeah, man.
Yeah.
I always ask. We're almost out of time, but I always ask this question, and it's a tough one. So I want to make sure you have plenty of time to answer. You get 3 records for the rest of your life. What's Matthew Mayfield's top 3? I can only listen to these 3 records for the rest of my life. And I'm sure Use Your Illusion 1's in there. So there's one.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, I guess it has to be.
Yeah.
Well, and another one would be, God, man, that's brutal. But I'm just looking at my arms. I got a lot of lyrics.
What albums did I tattoo on myself? I have to say
Well,
those.
just this one is the "We All Walk the Long Road," the Pearl Jam Neil Young collaboration.
Was it Mirror Ball?
Yeah, so they were his band on Mirror Ball, and then
That's right.
they put out Merkin Ball, which was sort of their little 2-single. I Got Id and The Long Road, and I connected with that song in 95, 96, right when it came out. I was like, just the lyric and everything just meant so much to me. I don't get tattoos unless then I sit with them for years, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't have, but like people are like, why'd you leave this off? And I'm like, because I
hadn't found it yet.
But yeah, I haven't found it yet, you know. But so yeah, I would say Yield, Pearl Jam.
Yeah. Oh man, great record. Yeah.
And then I would have to go, you know, in terms of just as a songwriter, I'd probably go Nebraska with Bruce.
Oh man, solid.
Yeah.
Nebraska gets skipped over unless you know Bruce's catalog. But if you like any Bruce Springsteen music, you should go listen to it. It's a dark record, but it's basically a record of demos because they tried to re-record it.
Yeah.
And it ended up being like most of his demos were just, hey man, that's what the record's supposed to be. And it's fantastic.
Yeah, man. And that was the inspiration for me to like Paul Moak, the guy that produced Gunshy and Banquet for Ghosts, and most of my records that I've done with him, the Blue Cut Robbery stuff, everything. One of my dear friends, he was the one that was like, let's make your Nebraska record.
Oh,
you know, like I want to put you in front of a microphone or two and just do what you do. And I want to capture it. You know, it was kind of like Steve Albini with Nirvana for In Utero. Like, I don't want to like jazz you up. I want you to be you, and I want to capture you. And it was terrifying, you know, because
oh man, I bet
it's live to tape. You know, so if you're on a tape machine, there's no, you can punch, but you can't. I mean, you know, you really need that one take that's magic. You know, so when we made that record, which was, you know, 10, 11 years ago, that all that stuff is live. You know, all of it's just me. That was my Nebraska. When he said that, that was when I was like, got a little more confidence. Like, okay, well, if you think I can do it, then I can do it. And that's sort of my whole mentality in the business, whether it's a producer or a manager or anyone. It's like, I think of them like a boxer's, like a prize fighter, you know, like the guy that's in your corner when they ring the bell, you go back, you're all bloodied up, they're putting the, you know, the ice-soaked quarters on your bloody eyes, and they're like, you're gonna win. Like, if you keep doing this, if you do, you know, giving you, it's like a coach, you know, and if you keep giving it to me and keep working and keep grinding and keep caring, I promise you're going to beat this guy. You're going to win, you know? Yeah. And I never feel competitive about music. I just feel like I've always had that drive up to it, to the point where I've always told every producer I've ever worked with, even when I was a kid, if I am in the vocal booth and you don't get chill bumps, make me do it again. Yeah. And again, and again, and again, and again. And I've thrown headphones and look, I'm not a diva, but I'm also not perfect, you know, because you're frustrated with yourself. You know that you got a better one in you, and a good producer and a good engineer and a good ear can say, hey, man, you're tired. You're tired. Let's come back tomorrow and let's hit it again, you know? Yeah. But your artistic side, as you know, hits you and you're like, man, I the whole night, that's all you can think about. Like, what did I do wrong? Was I off pitch? Was I out of time? Or my lyrics suck? And then you start going like, do I suck?
Oh, yeah.
Am I a terrible artist?
The cycle of being a creative person.
Yeah, man. You just constant self-doubt, which is, I think a lot of people think it's the opposite. Like, constant, like, building yourself up, like, to think you're some fucking rock star. It's like, dude, I am what I am, you know? Yep. And I'm not one of, it'd be nice to play to thousands of people a night, but, you know, I'm grateful to be able to keep doing it. Yeah.
It's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate you being on the show, Matthew.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for having me. I know you're probably going to edit around some of this, but if there's anything else you want to do, I've got time. So.
Oh no, man, we're getting it 100. But I appreciate you being on. If you guys don't follow Matthew, at Matthew Mayfield on Instagram and Twitter, at Matthew Mayfield Music on Facebook, there's a link tree that I'll put in the show notes as well, where you can go find YouTube links and all kinds of stuff from there as well. And man, we're looking forward to the new record. Do you have a release date or a time that's going to drop?
I don't as of now. Like I said, I think it might be like a A-side, B-side thing for a minute.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that I get the A's and the B's that are the ones that fit together, I guess. I always see it like that,
Yeah.
I think that might be the move. So I'm just sort of sifting through a shitload of material. So
yeah, well, we'll keep on the lookout for it, man.
Thank you.
Go listen to Gunshy, check out Matthew's socials, and keep up with all his tour schedule and all that sort of stuff. Man, I appreciate it, bro. This was awesome.
Dude, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, take care, man.
All right, take care. Later.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed that conversation. Great conversation with my friend Matthew Mayfield. I'm excited about the new record. Gunshy was awesome. I know that he's an incredible songwriter, singer-songwriter. He's got another project that he's working on that we talked about off camera a little bit, off the podcast a little bit, that I think you're going to be excited for too if it works out. And yeah, man, it's just got great stuff going on. So check out all the links in the show notes to find his stuff and follow him on social, all that. Also, make sure you're following MyFi at MyFi Podcast everywhere, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all the things. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. It's super helpful for us. And leave a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That's always helpful for the show, so it shows up when people search for great music interview podcasts. We would love to share what we're doing here at MyFi. And we got some great episodes coming up, so stay tuned. Make sure you got your notifications on and whatnot. And we can't wait to see you next time. You know what I'm saying? So until then, have a good one.